I put it to you right here, right now, that there's no better feeling than falling in love with the series. And then as that series progresses, you just continue to love it more and more and more. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today guys, we are talking The Wandering in book number 3. But before we get into that, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon, if you want to help support what I do here. All of that money funnels back into the channel. I'm actually currently saving up for an actual camera instead of just recording on my phone. So a huge heartfelt thank you to all of my patrons for helping drive that and support my passion and my hobby. Now that aside, guys, this is not a non-spoiler review. My general thoughts before you click away, if you haven't already started this series, is I love this series, I love this book, and I'm planning on going the entire way. And if you want to know more of my thoughts on The Wandering Inn, you want some skits, you want to why you should read, check it right here for a playlist. Yeah, I've got books 1 and 2 there. This is book 3. That said, guys, like, I absolutely love book 3, which is called The Flowers of Esterhelm. I believe I have said that either 90% correct to mostly correct. But this is the book where we started expanding off and exploring more of the secondary characters rather than just Aaron and Ryoka. And this is your cue that I am going to start talking about this book in a non-spoiler fashion. You have 5 seconds. Okay, that's 5 seconds. Maybe not. I don't know. I didn't actually do a full-on count. But guys, this was so cool because Aaron and Ryoka are in the book, but they take more of a secondary role rather than a primary one. We really get to explore more of the new Horns of Hammerod and their dynamic. We get to explore 2 new POVs, one more than the other, but I think the Doctor is going to come back. I can't remember her name. There's a lot of characters to remember, but I love that we're starting to kind of explore how the leveling system works, because the kind of Earthers are starting to figure out how, like, you know, because we have video games and stuff, how this leveling system actually works. Like Larkin was probably a new favorite POV for me. I really enjoyed the Riverfall storyline, and because he's blind and things of that nature, and the way he interacts with Doreen, I loved Doreen, and B, I love how Larkin interacts with Doreen, because Doreen's very vulnerable. She's very, you know, she's half troll, and she just doesn't. She's never been accepted before, and to all of a sudden have somebody who can't see her but accepts her anyway, I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I loved him. He was just like, I'm gonna be an emperor, and like you can't do that. And then like all of a sudden he starts leveling emperor. I love it. I can't wait to see Larkin start to just kind of expand. I have the theory that he's gonna like take over some surrounding towns in his empire, because the whole thing of empire is empire expands. To be an emperor, he has to expand his empire, and so I think it's going to slowly start from this one little village, and probably is going to bring that one in, and this one, and that one, and there was something so silly about him just kind of standing in the middle of an avalanche, or post-avalanche in Riverfall, and be like, I am your emperor, I need you to recognize me as my emperor, so I can use my skills to save your people. And like some of them are like, no, you're nuts. And then others are like, yeah, sure, whatever, do what you need. I loved that. I can't wait to get more of Larkin, because especially with book 3, it's, you know, splitting volume 3 straight down the middle. And I think this is the first time in the series that that's happened, because volume 1 is its own book, volume 2 is its own book, and then volume 3, like, we split books 3 and 4, and I'm doing book 4 next month. So I'm very excited for that, and hopefully we get more Larkin in there as well. And I'm kind of interested to see how he's going to kind of weave his way in to the story as a whole, and I think that we're going to get that through either like Ryoka or Aaron. But yeah, speaking of Ryoka and Aaron, it's been kind of cool seeing Aaron off doing her own thing, because she's been, you know, Torrent being an absolute pain in the butt. And that's putting it nicely. Like, I've called Torrent a lot of names because of this book. And I think I saw that this is where this was going with, you know, Torrent abandoning her in the middle of nowhere, which was just, ugh, Torrhen's such a dick. Anyway, yeah, like, he's just, like, he wants out, and it kind of all comes out that, like, you know, he's a leveling monster, and he doesn't have a conscience, and things like that, and it was intriguing kind of getting Torrhen's perspective more and more and more, and how he's trying to break loose and become his own thing, and I liked him getting his autonomy, but at the same time, I wish he wasn't so mean about it. You know what I mean? Like, he was just so mean and hateful. And I won't say he's hateful. He doesn't hate anybody. He just doesn't have any morals. Which we find out later in the book through Pisces is kind of how he was designed. He was based off of a golem from Wistrom. And yeah, it was I don't know. Torrhen made me mad. Like, especially when he killed the monster girl. I was just like, oh, you absolute D-bag. That's just, no. Bad Torrhen. Bad. Misbehaving, bad Torrhen. So I'm kind of interesting where he's going to end up. I think he's going to end up somehow with the Necromancer. I can't know for sure, but that is my prediction. Next up, who do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the acting trope, because kind of bring it back to Aaron. Because Aaron, the small portion that we do have with Aaron within this book is Aaron is kind of becoming disillusioned and bored with the world in general. She's like, oh, it's cool, there's magic, fantasy world, potions, great, walking skeletons, and fantasy creatures, that's all cool, but you guys only really live for work. What do you do for fun? And they're like, oh, we go out dancing, drinking, and, you know, extramarital relations or things of that nature. And everyone's just like, oh, yeah, that's not my thing. And she wants to, like, spice up this fantasy world. And so, like, after running back into the pickpocket boy and his big sister, his adopted sister, again, name's not my strong suit. She starts trying to find this job for her. She feels sorry for her. And settles on an acting troupe, or at least starts doing plays and things like nature. And they form what I think is going to be an acting troupe. And I think there's talks at the end of book 3 of, like, the acting troupe going on tour, because Aaron, you know, starts kind of moving back towards Liscore and the Wandering Inn, because, you know, it's been left with Lionette, who seriously has some of the best character growth in this entire story. It's fantastic. I loved Lionette's character growth. Can we just talk about how, like, out of sheer desperation, now that she has, like, something that she's kind of tied to, she kind of drops the haughtiness a little bit and realizes that, like, you know, no one's going to hand her anything. She's not on her continent where she really has any weight or pull. We find out that she's a runaway. Not that she's like, I was under the impression she was an exiled princess. That's not the case. She is a runaway. And so we really get to start to see Lionette kind of trying to figure out how to survive without Aaron, because she's got to cook her own food. In order to make coin, she's got to do things for the guests. She forms this really good relationship with Pawn, where we get some really interesting growth with Pawn as well, where he's trying to figure out what it means to be his type of individual, because he's got this acolyte class because Aaron decided to talk to him about religion, and now he's trying to figure out how the Antinium and religion can kind of mix together, which is very interesting. And then, you know, he's kind of figuring out about the Centennium instead of the Antinium. So we're kind of getting some more of the deeper history of the Antinium with Kilbakitch and things of that nature. It was so good seeing the Liscore storyline, because it felt kind of fresh and new, and I really enjoyed exploring the secondary characters. And one of the things I want to talk about here is I'm a huge Wheel of Time fan, so Robert Jordan has all the characters, and he will explore a lot of them. And essentially, there's something in the Wheel of Time called the Slog, and the Slog is, we spend a lot of time with secondary characters, and they're not interesting. So I think one of the great things that Pirate Abba did here is make the secondary characters interesting. Like, there was at no point where I was like, can we move this along? I was invested in the characters. I cared about the characters. So, I mean, Lionette and Pawn getting these expanded roles, chef's kiss. I loved everything about it. Speaking of Aaron coming back to take care of Lionette, even though Lionette doesn't really need to be taken care of anymore, I can see her kind of growing into her own kind of. I think she's going to get some more responsibility in The Wandering End, so that would be great to see, because she's maturing, she's growing, she's becoming more of an individual, but she's being escorted back by the new Horns of Hammerod. And the Horns, their storyline was a lot of fun, because, you know, they're kind of just rolling the dice and seeing what's going to happen. And seeing them kind of go into a dungeon delve, and things not go well. Like, they like run through, like, this is our last day. Like, we're out of coin, we're out of food, it's the middle of winter, things are not going well. We need to strike it big. And then, like, they strike it big, and then they get over anxious, and a fire spirit or a fire entity kind of torches the treasure. They get trapped in a pit of madness. All of this stuff, and it all ends up working out, because the treasure, you know, is still like a melted lump of gold, which I didn't think they were going to do. When it all caught fire, I was like, me the reader, I was just, you know, when gold doesn't just evaporate, it melts and stuff like that. I was like, please, please, please pick up this lump of treasure. And I didn't think Pirate was going to have him do it. I was like, they did all this work, they went through all of that for nothing. And then, like, right as, like, I was about to lose hope, and I was about to have my first really frustrated moment of the book, they come to the conclusion, this is still gold. We can still take this lump of gold with jewels encrusted in there, and we can sell it. And we got to kind of learn a bit more how the Adventurers Guild works, and that was great. And seeing, like, Kissenver, Yvonne, Saria, and Pisces kind of figure out their dynamic was really good, because they don't really want to lean onto Pisces' necromancy, but at the same time, Pisces makes good points. He's like, yes, I know it's illegal. No one's really got to know. And they could be, like, really good helpers. They're tireless diggers. I can animate the bones in this pit to make a stairway, which they do. And so they finally start kind of being more okay. Of course, then they figure out what he did with Torin, and they're less okay with what he did, or what he's done. But still, I really, really enjoyed watching the Horns kind of come back into their own and discover some confidence. They take a lot of lumps. Like, Yvonne, what happened to her skin, like, I don't know how that's going to evolve. Because they got most of the metal that kind of fused into her skin out, but they didn't get all of it. So I don't know what we're going to do there, or how we're going to make Yvonne kind of functional again. We get to meet her brother. That was interesting. That's kind of part of the Torin storyline. So it's good to know that the Byers family has some really heavy hitters in it. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that's all going to shake out. But we're just going to have to see. Overall, like, there wasn't a lot of Rags here. But there was some of Rags's kind of cohorts. And they're just kind of been sent out by the second in command. Rags is second in command. Again, his name is escaping me. It begins with a G, I think. I think it begins with a G. The big hobgoblin who she fought in Volume 2. But they're like, hey, they kind of come to the realization that, like, he's no longer chief. Rags is chief, which means his orders are invalid. We should protect instead of kill the innkeeper. Even though they never find the innkeeper. They just find this monster girl who was just, in a short amount of time, like, was a tragic character who Pirate instantly redeems. And I think that's one of the strong suits about Pirate's writing, is they can introduce a character that you absolutely just don't like on the page. Like, Pisces and Lionette are very kind of unlikable characters when they're first introduced. And then as time goes on, a redemption arc happens. And then the reverse is true as well, because I very much liked Torin when Torin was introduced. I thought Torin was very interesting, and now I don't like Torin. And so Pirate has this ability to just kind of jerk my opinion of these characters all over the place. It's like, you get a redemption arc, and you fall from grace. And I kind of really, really appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun kind of just diving in to the Wandering End world. Or I guess we call it End world. I'm learning things. I'm still a new duck, but I'm learning things about the world, and I'm just really, really enjoying it, and I can't wait to explore more. Once again, I do need to mention Andrea Parsnew does an amazing job on the audiobook. I am exploring these on audio and ebook, And then once I get caught up, it's going to be hard for me. But I do plan on, I guess, transitioning into... I haven't decided yet if I'm going to transition to the website or if I'm going to transition and keep just kind of waiting for the audios. Because by the time I get caught up, I'm sure book, I don't know, let's say 17 or 18 is going to be out, which would be fascinating and exciting for me, just because I love Andrea Parsons' take on these characters. She does such a good job. I can't wait to continue with book 4. That's really all I've really got for you today, guys, other than I love the pacing. I love the exploration of the side characters. I love the evolution of the characters. I love where this story is going. I think it's really cool, and I think Volume 3 is shaping up to be my favorite so far. And I can definitely tell that, at least at this point, as the story goes on, I'm just going to get more and more invested. That's all I really got for you today, guys, though. Onwards and upwards to book 4, which will then, I believe, conclude Volume 3. I'm so excited. Let me know in the comments down below. What did you think of book 3? Is it your favorite of the first few books? I'd love to chat with you. That's all I already got. So till next time, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.